Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Wealth Equation podcast. And today, this is going to be an interesting one, everybody. We've got Julie Rodiloso. Okay, now, Julie, I need to introduce before we hand over to Julie, so she can tell us a little bit about what she's been up to in her career. But I want to introduce one or two little things here. So we have a person that has played in large corporate, and to use Julie's words, dull. Okay. Then we went on to talk about starting up our own business. Now, how many of you watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, can claim to have started a business and achieved 185 million sales in 3 years? This person can. So I've got a serial entrepreneur and a serial winner on my show this afternoon, and that's an incredible thing. So RightIndem is the business that Julie at the moment is driving hard. We Dance to Your Beat is their unique value proposition, and they claim the AA, and that's not Alcoholics Anonymous, that is AA, the roadside recovery people, amongst their clients, and there's many more. So Julie, you've obviously got an awesome backstory, and we want to learn all about it. Tell us a bit more, please. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining in.
No, thank you. It's great. So, well, I'll give you a quick history. So I started actually door knocking, selling life insurance, believe it or not, because nobody would need to.
I wondered because in your LinkedIn profile, there is a post we got startup training and insurance sector specific stuff, right? Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, and boy, I tell you what, it's great because when you're out selling door to door, you soon learn that you're not going to eat if you can't handle objections. I learned very quickly because I was on commission only, couldn't afford a car, they'd dump us out in an area. And I realized that if I couldn't handle objections, I wasn't going to eat. So that was a great grounding. Yeah, great grounding. But also I'm quite hungry and quite driven. So I did look up, you know, Socrates, I don't know if you know that old thing, Socrates, the student said, "Oh, Socrates, I want to be as clever as you. I want to be as knowledgeable as you." And he said, "Really?" He said, "Yes, I do. So I took him down to the river and he put his head in the water and he said, right, and then he forced it, and then he pulled up and said, "What did you want more than anything?" "I wanted air." He said, "Until you want knowledge, like you want air." So you got to want it, right? You've got to want it. You've got to have that drive. You can't buy it in Tesco's or Waitrose or Aldi. I've looked for it. It's not there. So that drive and motivation has got to be in there. So I then went to work in large corporate because they gave me a company car. Why wouldn't you? I mean, for God's sake. So, and I thought, oh God, it's as dull as dishwater here. So I worked at GEC. I did really well. I became a senior manager really quickly. And I actually really enjoyed it. And I learned a lot. What did I learn? 5% plus 5%. I learned how to budget, how to market, how to be serious. Yes, it was a very good grounding. GEC was incredible. So then I went to Mises PLC, again, Mises PLC, very good company, great grounding. So I had some good grounding as well. And then I thought, oh, bugger this. I'm going on my own because, you know, obviously working in a corporate, you know, you're restrained. So I set up Rodiloso. Rosso. We became the largest independent provider of fleet insurance in the UK within 3 years. And we grew that to 185 million gross premium. And how I did that was really understanding clients, what they were looking for, and delivering something special. But having an A team, that's really important. I want to talk about that in a bit more detail.
Yeah.
And then, so after that, I set up Excess Protect. So basically I design excess in the UK. You know, if you've got a premium, you can increase your excess, reduce your premium. So I designed that product. So as you can see, I'm always on, always connected. And then I thought, right. So then my friend said, "What about this company?" I went, So I joined RightIndem. It's great. So what we do, we digitally wrap around insurers and we provide the technology for claimants to be able to report a claim online. And we are really cooking on gas, and we're going to become the largest digital wraparound for insurers globally within the next 2 years.
Fantastic. So that's an intention and a half, right? That we're not talking about be world famous in Newbury here. This is something important.
Well, what would I be doing if I didn't want to do that? You know,
I'm just going to say, Julia, this is absolutely the point. What gives you the confidence? Where does that streak of ambition in you come from?
Oh, well, actually, people are always, you know, troubled. So I came from nothing. And it's a very sad background. We won't go in there. But I was driven to always never rely on anyone and always produce my own stuff. And so I realized that if I didn't do anything about it, no one was going to do anything about it. So I'm very driven through traumas in the past, and a lot of people are.
Absolutely right. Yeah, we talked a little bit before the show started around ADHD and some other
Well, I've got that all right.
yeah, and the labels that people give each other.
Oh,
But
no, I'm talking about much more tragic.
no, I appreciate that. Please, I'm with you there totally.
No, but ADHD, guys, is a curse. Is a curse, and also it's also a huge benefit. We've got 6 superpowers, and a lot of senior people have got ADHD, by the way.
Yeah, this is the point I was going to make, is that this is not something to be shied away from. It's,
No,
as you said, trauma or some type of shall we say, superpower, which can be leveraged. You mentioned objection handling. So the people watching this podcast that are fighting a small business, they're wrestling with, I don't want to be known as a salesperson. You know, like sales is something that's not in my vocabulary. What the hell?
They're not in America. Good job they're not in America, because they're deemed as amazing.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't be in business if you're not in sales. So what's the worst objection that you've ever had to handle? I guess it's door to door. It's having the door slammed in your face, is it, or not?
Bugger off, I'm not interested. What, interested in what? I'm glad that's why I came around, because I need. So there's loads of, I mean, I do a whole course. Objection handling, you can't just do it on a call now in 10 seconds. It's a very serious thing. Objections come from misunderstanding, not understanding your product, not having a clarity. There's a whole host of things that objections come from. You're not doing your job properly in the first place. But the more objections you've got, the nearer you are to the sale, actually. Imagine if you're going fishing, right? And you've got a float, and that float doesn't go up and down. Well, that's boring. You're not going to catch a fish, are you? So the fish, when the float goes bob, 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 that's nibbling back, right? So top salespeople get 6 times more objections than people that don't. So because the more objections, they're buying signals, guys. You've got to deal with them.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. What a brilliant piece of sharing that is this afternoon. Wow. So if you're not getting objections when you're selling your services or your product,
you're not going to get a sale.
You're not pushing. Well, we talk about at Power Play, we talk about something called the definition of selling, which we describe as being let me just get this clear in my mind here, the gentle art, if you like, of helping people make a great decision. Right? Yeah. So if you're not helping people make a great decision, you're not selling, because somebody else is going to do it, right or not?
Well, so first of all, I only sell to people that have a requirement and a need. So I agree with what you. However, if my product is inferior, I would not be pushing it, right? So I've got to believe in my product, and I've got to sell something. I'm not going to sell something otherwise. But so for me, selling. So you know what? There'd be no beans to count. There'd be no technology to develop if there wasn't for salespeople. They're the unsung heroes. It's a terrible job. I mean, for God's sake, they work all hours, they get told off, they have to go and cold call. They need to be respected. But, great sales make a great company. Poor sales make a very bad company, right? Absolutely. So that's fundamental. I think also, we were talking about this. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, so I apologize. I actually am astounded at how many people don't give their staff sales training. How can you chop down the trees if you've got a blunt axe? Yeah. And I'm really an evangelic about this. If you've got salespeople, because startups, basically competition don't kill them; they kill themselves within. They don't have the right product, they don't have the right salespeople, they don't manage their cash properly. These are the fundamental things. Are you shallow and wide? In other words, you try and sort out everything, but you're not got any depth. Or are you narrow and deep? And if you're narrow and deep and you make some sales, double down, triple down until you've got more cash. Yeah. So but the key thing is you got to have salespeople, you've got to have marketing, but you've got to have a good product. And what are the pain points for a client? What are you solving for that client? If you cannot solve a problem for a client, what are you doing? What are you doing in business? What is it that you're selling? What are you making? Can someone use it? Is a benefit, and what are those benefits?
I love your broad but direct approach. That's very good. Very, very interesting.
Sorry, I should be a northerner.
Don't get me into the Yorkshire lingo, Joe. This could end in tears. So nobody will be able to understand me, even less. Sort of a wise person once said that there's nothing that revenue growth can't cure.
I agree. But but I'm going to stop you there, because you say that, but So I've been in companies where people have got the sales in, right? And they've not managed the cash, right? That's fundamental. You have got to manage that cash. You've got to understand that you can't keep putting debt on debt. You have to manage that cash, and you have to, and people get cash and they go, oh, we'll go off and do this now. Now we'll do this, and we're going to go shallow and wide and shallow again. No, get back in your box. We're going to stay, we're going to stay tight, and we're going to stay deep, because we're going to double down until we get more. And then we're going, but you can't develop something unless you ask your clients, what is it that you're looking for? What are the problems you're resolving? Know your industry, know your pain points, and resolve those pain points. Look after your clients and deliver good products, and they will stay and grow with you.
Are successful people, I described you earlier on, by the way, these are words that Julie didn't know I was going to use, but a serial entrepreneur and a serial winner is what I said.
I like to win, I like to lose.
Are you describing the ingredients of a serial winner, a serial entrepreneur, around, let's not use drive, it's too generic. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is it's almost like a thirst, a hunger for knowledge, isn't it? It's we have to be sponges. If we go into a startup or any business with a fixed paradigm of prescribed approach, the chances are, in my experience, that's not going to work. You've got to always be looking beyond what you think you understand, right or not?
Yes, I mean, so anyone who's got a small business or is thinking of setting up a small business, you've got to understand that you've got to have discipline in finance. You've got to produce a product that consumers want. You've got to be checking for that. You've got to have sales and marketing. You've got to have salespeople. I mean, I like an A team, right? So I'm hoping that the guy starting and the girl starting up the business is an A person. So and the A team. So you can have an A and a B and a C team.
Sure.
So,
okay.
I mean, an A team.
The traits of an A?
The traits of an A team is they're driven, they're knowledgeable, they're hungry, they understand what they're doing, and they have a very clear vision, and they understand that they've got to control. And they're also experienced, so that's an A team. So an A team for me, now some people might not be able to afford those people because they tend to be more expensive. But what you can do is, like, the MD or the starter up of that business will definitely have to be an A player. Obviously, then they need to have another A player. So, 5 A players can knock out 50 B players, right?
Yeah, sure.
But as you're saying, well, I can't afford that. I can't afford all these A players, So, but you could take on some enthusiastic, driven people, yeah, and you can make them into A players. But if people haven't got drive, so if you're taking people on, and just because they're good at they've got to have drive. You can't buy it in Tesco's, you can't buy it in Waitrose, and you're never going to give it to them. So if you've got, for me, the take is, when you're employing people and you want to grow, and you want to be, because if you're starting out your business, you're driven, aren't you? You want to make a success.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you've got to take on people that are similar. You can take 1 pencil and break it. You can take 2 and break them. You can take 3 and break them. Start getting 4 or 5 and you can't break them. And that's what you need. And a lot of people don't necessarily take on the right people. In other words, are they driven? Are they hungry? And can you turn them into an A player? Because you can't afford that A player today.
And okay, this is excellent stuff. So what are the main reasons for somebody not hiring an A player? You mentioned money. So you think, principally, it's money, yeah? You don't think it's other things? Could it be anything else?
Well, no, it'll be, I suppose if they've got an ego and they don't. So I always employ people more intelligent than me, and that's not hard, by the way. So I mean, but if you've got an ego, which you can't have an ego, right? So if you're, what could stop you? Yeah, is ego. Is ego.
But so a fear of hiring somebody that's better than me, right?
I love it. I mean, come on, they're doing all the work for me. I love it. So you've got to have someone more, you've got to hire intelligent people. And the only reason I'm guessing that an entrepreneur starting a business is because they can't afford them. And I get that, right? But that would be, for me, the only reason. But I do know that I personally would make sure I did have an A team, even if it's only 3 or 4, because I tell you what, they make the difference. Oh boy. And they can knock out any B team any day.
So the language of the CEO is leverage.
The language of the CEO is making sure that his team are motivated, or her team, that they have a product that is fits pain points. They understand the market, and let's face it, the CEO in a small company is probably the person doing the selling.
Initially,
it's their business initially, yeah, because they know the vision. It's their business, and they can sell it. You know, the selling is simple. So the CEO's responsibility is to make sure that they bring along the staff. They understand the direction. Where are you pushing the bale of hay? Yeah. What do you want to achieve, and how do you want to get there? And you'd be surprised how sometimes that's not actually done, but also how they don't, you've got to train your staff. You've got to motivate them. You've got to bring them along. You've got to give them I'm very open management. In a small company, you've got to be open. Got to be open. Can be no secrecy there.
Are we agreeing then that the CEO's main tool is leverage? They're going to leverage people. They're going to leverage products and services. They're going to, what else will they leverage? They'll leverage systems, won't they?
Yeah.
They'll leverage technology. They'll leverage money. They'll leverage borrowing.
Yeah, but some CEOs don't know all of that. Yeah. So they've got to bring in people. Like a CEO might not be an amazing finance guy, or a CEO might be an amazing finance guy and not really great at sales.
That's a great point. That's a great point. We often find in small business, Julian, I'm sure you'll understand what I'm saying, you'll agree with me, the technical capability, i.e. a bloody good plumber or electrician or insurance sales guy, technically they have the ability to build a very successful small business, but 90% of the time they fail. Why? Because they don't understand how to be a business leader. They don't understand how to do marketing and selling and hiring and so forth. That's exactly what you say.
And why would they? Because they've never had to.
Exactly.
But I'm afraid I'm a bit of, well, yeah, there, and you want to do it, you better learn it.
You better learn it. Yeah, for sure.
If you don't want to learn it, don't do it.
What was you said earlier on? If you can't do the time,
don't do the crime.
Yeah. Yeah, 1,000,000%. Right?
If you want to be exceptional, or
then you have to.
Exactly. Who's stopping you? Yourself. And with AI and internet now, and all the knowledge is available for you to learn, there is no excuse why you can't. I mean, you can write letters with AI now, ChatGPT-4. You can write contracts, you can do sales schemes. And you've got Canva, and you've got Render Forest, and you've got all these platforms that you could do some marketing. You are responsible of your own destiny, so drive it and get on with it and educate yourself and learn, because if this is all out there.
So this direct language, by the way, everybody that's watching and listening, I hope you're really leaning into what Julie's saying here.
Sorry. I don't apologize.
No. Stop that. This is the kind of direct language that we want from a mentor, from somebody that's done it already. This great stuff. Brilliant.
I'm learning every day, by the way. Every day I learn.
Never stop learning, right? I mean, that's a cliche, but it's completely true. So we called the podcast recently. We changed the podcast title to the Wealth Equation. And as I've said in the last couple of podcasts, I'm currently working out of a corner of the property because we're having an office built, and the office is going to be built to support the Wealth Equation podcast and all the things that we do. We're not quite there yet, so bear with us, everybody. So the Wealth Equation is money multiplied by time multiplied by health, okay, bringing us wealth. So in other words, we've got the money to do what we want when we want. We've got the time to be able to allow us to enjoy the financial wealth that we have.
In the early days now, come on, guys, come on. You've got to put, no. In the early days, it's sweat.
Let me finish a second, Julie. Time out. So we've got the money, we've got the time, and then we've got the health, which creates the wealth. But of course, as Julie's rightly saying, in those early days, we're probably, potentially short on all three, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you guys, a lot of you guys out there have done, you've got your businesses and you're very successful. You know how hard it is. It is tough. It is tough. And what I learned is that the harder I worked, the smarter I became. And I looked at using different things to make my life easier. I'm terrible. I was terrible at time management. I am terrible at a lot of things. So I've had to really work, and I've got, you know, I'm very good at some things and I'm terrible at others. But you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Welcome to the human race, right? Yeah.
But I mean, I'm trying to, but I've always looked to strengthen my weakest link.
Okay.
And it's not easy, right? And especially if people have got family, you know, and my family were definitely on the back burner for quite a while. But, you know, you need to be able to make that sacrifice if you want to be a true winner. If you want to be average and have that, that's fine. And that's great, you know. But for anyone starting in business, if you want to really excel, there is nothing but hard work.
Well, you see, again, it's a very interesting point that you make there. Let's embellish that for everybody, because the simple reality is this: we don't want to do denial, do we? We don't want to do denial, and we don't want to do management by hope. In other words, I want to be a billionaire, but I'm not prepared to put the shift in. Therefore,
well, they're ridiculous, aren't they? They're ridiculous.
Yeah. So, but you need to see my point is I want to be a multi-millionaire, but I'm not prepared to put the shift in. I want to have £1 million in the bank, but I'm not prepared to put the shift in. We've got denial. Let's not go there. So, Julie,
they shouldn't start their own business if they've got
that's correct. Now, brilliant advice. Why doesn't somebody give? Yes, there you go. But if you're going to do it properly, right? So,
don't do it at all. I don't do it at all.
So from your perspective then, because obviously we're interviewing Julie Rodiloso today. So which one of these three did you find the toughest on your journey? Which one did you find the hardest to achieve a degree of balance in?
Family life, which is not on there.
So time.
Well, yeah. I mean, so, but I'm obsessive, right? So
makes you a winner.
Yeah, and I needed to deliver, but I also want to please my customers, right? So I have this which you actually find is really good. So I wanted to be able to provide a great service to clients. What am I here for if I'm not doing that? So what are their pain points? And I would really find out what their pain points are, because my competition, let's face it, some competition in the UK isn't that great. It doesn't take much to stand out. Find out what the problems are and deliver them. You know, for example, I'm looking for a plumber or something, but I find some of their service atrocious. I can't even get them to respond to me. I'm like, guys, what are you doing when you haven't got any business? You be all over everybody. Why don't you stay consistent and have someone respond to us? You know, and it really infuriates me because
they're not educated. They're technicians. They're not educated. Yeah.
No, but because if I did that to a client, if I did that to the AA or Resure, they'd like really? But why is it that they feel they can do that? So all I'm saying is, it doesn't take much to excel, really. I think. But what you do need to do is you need to say, right, what am I producing? What products am I producing? What are the pain points? And how do I deliver that? And how do I look after my client to the best of my ability and offer really good service?
So a lot of the people watching would be agreeing with everything you've just said now. So when I asked the question of Julie, which one did you find the hardest? She said time. Now, the average small business owner, 1 to 49 employees, there are 5.3 million of them in the UK.
Oh, right? Absolutely.
Okay. So the majority of them would leverage an excuse or a reason for not educating themselves correctly.
Why?
As a time problem. They would blame time. They would blame time.
Well, then you need to get better time management.
Okay.
Because
how do we do that?
Well, basically, it depends how much you want it. So, for example, how much do you want that? So, for example, I did my MIT. I'm just doing an MBA now, and I work 24/7. But I manage my time, and I say, right, I'm going to have X with here, X there, and I'm going to do X this. Now,
you're an exceptional person, Julie.
No, I think a lot of people do that. I really, really do. Yeah. I do. And again, boils down to how much do you want it? And why,
I agree with that.
Why are you on this planet if you're not going to get the better version of you?
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree.
Watching TV all day. I mean, what are you doing?
That's right.
So if you want to be the best, I mean, I'm on this planet. I don't know how long for. But I do know that I'm here for a reason, not the season. And that is to do stuff. And I wouldn't be good. And that doesn't mean everybody, by the way, guys, so hear me out. I am not here just to vegetate. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that it's not wrong. I mean, everybody has their path, and don't, I don't judge anyone. I'm very liberal, I'm very open. But what I'm saying is I'm here and I'm driven, and I think, gosh, if I can't do or constantly evolve, and if someone's saying they can't educate themselves because they haven't got time, well, I don't think you want it, basically.
I didn't need to hear anything other than that. Stop there. That's perfect. So I think we've already touched on this for everybody watching. What ways did you find helps you get over the critical mass point in terms of finances? What we talked about selling and marketing. Is there anything else, Julie, that you'd like to share with the gang out there that you think is critical to getting wealth of finance into your life?
Well, first of all, you've got to have a funded company. And if you haven't, you've got to really, like I started my first business with £5,000.
Right.
So
working capital, right? Working capital.
Yeah, £5,000 working capital. And that wasn't a lot. So I realized that I had to be very good, and I had to work very hard, and I had to be very careful with my cash. I had to deliver a product that people wanted. So but I did all that before I embarked on it. So what is the problems you're trying to resolve? So also, if you're raising money, guys, it is so demoralizing. So when you're raising capital all the time, VCs, you go and do your round, and it's like, why should we choose you? Why are you different, mama? What's your moat, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I raise capital. It's grinding, but if you can't differentiate yourself, you won't be able to raise finance. If you can't differentiate yourself, you won't be able to get your sales. So I actually think it's really good grounding. So money it's difficult in today's economy to raise finance at the moment. But those that are exceptional and really good at it can still raise finance. You can still do it from high net worth individuals, from family and friends. But when you're taking that money, be very mindful that you're taking their money. So make sure that you have a very clear strategy on how you're going to do it. And then you've just got to deliver it. For those people that are raising
time management,
yeah. So for those that are going out raising another load of money from VCs, it's tough. And be mindful that shareholders now can get a better return than they could before in the bank.
Absolutely.
So you need to really add that value and make them feel that they want to put it in. It is difficult. It is difficult, but it's not unachievable. And if you're exceptional and you're good at what you do, you can raise that money from high net worth individuals. But you've got to have a really good story, and you've got to have an exit.
I feel, Julie, you're talking about cause and effect here, because in order to have money as the CEO, the business owner, you have to have money in the business to fuel it.
You do.
That's great advice. So we've got self-management equals time management. We've got working capital. We've got make sure you have the fuel to keep you alive, the business, and B, to commercially drive the business. This is critical. And finally, then, from a health perspective, how do we fight this good fight and stay alive?
Oh, don't ask me. Don't ask me. I'm terrible at it. So I think that's
still alive.
Yeah, but I don't. Well, no, I'm one of those weirdos. So I just work. So, but also I have a dog, and I go out twice a day, and I walk, and I do over my 15, 20,000 steps.
Right. Well, there you go.
That's it. I don't do anything else. I'm like, I don't have time. But I'm different. I'm different. It's not for everyone, but you do need the health. You do need the health.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of people. I certainly bump into a lot of level 2 business people that are literally pounding themselves into the ground. They're not going to make 50 years old if they continue as they are. And ironically, they have none of that, and they have none of that either, because they have.
But sometimes, I see it all the time in London. When you're there, you see people who drink too much, eat too much, work too much, red face, think, gosh, there's a heart attack waiting to happen. And but people have got to feel it. You can't force people to be superheroes and healthy. Everybody is different, right? And everyone's got a different journey and a different problem, and you don't know what they are. But I do know that eventually they do get to the point where they go, oh, I've made it now, I better look after my health. And you can beat everybody around the head to do these things, but at the end of the day, everybody's different, and you can't force someone to do something. Yeah, you just can't.
You can take the horse to water, can't you?
No, hold on. I'll tell you. So you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But if you put salt in his food, he's thirsty, so he goes and drinks, right? So there's a different analogy. However, if someone wants to do X and they want to do Y, who am I or who are you to say they shouldn't do it? So
That, you see, that's okay. But I take issue with your comment there on one point.
go
And then
on.
if they're in denial and they are asking you or I for these things, but
Oh, okay, okay.
they're not actually serving themselves in the way that you're describing, then we owe it to ourselves as business leaders to show them that path. Yeah.
So I agree, and I agree, but I do believe that, we are allowed to have voice our own opinions and have our own opinions, God forbid, because I am definitely one of those. But if someone is finding it difficult to work and do everything, I totally get that. So guys, if you're struggling, we've all struggled. I have struggled as well, by the way. So it is normal. It's normal to be like this. And what you've got to do is you've got to say, actually, I think you might be beating yourself up too much.
It could be. I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
And, you've got to say, right, I'm doing a great job. Have I delivered what my customer wants? Yes. Am I always going that extra mile? Give myself a break, go down the gym or go out and do stuff or go to the museum or take a walk. I don't know, whatever you want to do.
That's great advice, Julie.
But you do,
take the pressure off. Lift
don't beat yourself up so much, because there are certain people that beat themselves up.
Yeah,
don't do it. It's not worth it. Don't do it.
No, you're absolutely right. You're certainly not going to help yourself here if you mentally as well as physically, if you do that.
And there's another thing, mental thing. So there's a lot of pressure on. They've got a lot. I mean, come on, these business guys, do not underestimate. They're worried about, some of them struggle to make the payroll every month. That pressure is huge.
Absolutely.
Don't underestimate that. So they got to give themselves a break, and they've got to realize that, at least they're out there doing it. And, and what I would say in that case is, maybe cut down on your staff, maybe look at staying very narrow and deep, maybe doubling down. So for example, I am a person that doesn't believe in shallow and wide. I believe in deep and narrow. So what I do is I want to be the best in this, and I'm going to double down, triple down on that. So maybe not stretch yourself so much. Until you've got the right income, by doubling down or tripling down on what you do and what you deliver now, don't beat yourselves up and wanting to grow all the time. Double down, and then that will happen if if you've got a great product, you've got great sales and marketing. We'll talk about it in a minute, because a lot of people don't do that, and you deliver. You will make the money, but maybe sometimes you've got to go 2 steps back to go 1 step forward, and that might be
great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice.
So
let's finish this interview today on marketing. Don't apologize, it's been great. On marketing and sales, because you just said something there that we want to talk about there. So what's in your mind to share with everybody around marketing and sales?
Right. Okay. So you can have a great product, but it doesn't mean you're going to make any sales. You've got to send key messages out, and you can do this yourself. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. You can go to Canva and blah, blah, blah. So the more you market out that you understand problems, marketing, if you don't market, no one knows you're around. It makes people think, oh gosh, they're here, they're serious. I mean, I am a great advocate of marketing, and you can do so many things to make yourself stand out by marketing. Guys, if, after this, anyone wants some advice, I do see myself as I do focus a lot on marketing, and marketing is vital, I think, in business.
I couldn't have
got the right product, guys. Hold on.
Yeah, I mean, we believe that there are two pillars that every successful business is really built upon. One is marketing, the other is the people in it. So we talk both of those now.
Get the A team, get the A team, get the A team.
Get the A team. That's, again, love the analogy of the pencils. Well, really great graphic presentation for people to see. Okay, so if there were one thing to finish on, then, if there were one thing in marketing, you've mentioned messaging, you've mentioned differentiation. What is the key to successful marketing in small business then for you? What would be the one thing?
I would be telling people how they've solved other people's problems.
You've mentioned this so many times, and it's absolutely right. You can't market or sell anything if it doesn't solve a problem, right?
Well, I don't know what you're doing if you can't.
You're just selling more cups of coffee, right? Or just being another plumber or whatever with respect to plumbers.
But with my coffee, you can't buy anything without getting me. And when you get that coffee, this is how you. So I'm selling the sizzle. So imagine I'm a butcher and you go, I don't suppose you want a pound of sausages.
I'm not buying anything.
My butcher goes, oh, so it's Sunday morning. You're lying in bed. Your wife's cooking. Sorry, I'm being sexist here. Sorry. And you can hear the sizzling of the sausage. And the smell of the sausage coming all the way up the stairs. Do you want 1 pound or 2? That's what
I'm trying to picture Julie as a butcher. I'm like, no, I would stay away from that if I were you, Julie.
You know what I mean, don't you? But what is the problem you're solving, right?
Brilliant.
And how it's helped other people similar to yourself.
Tell the story, right? Tell the story. Brilliant. Julie, we're going to have to wrap it up there today because we've been.
Yeah, sorry guys for putting up with me.
It's been an absolute joy. We'll get you back at some point because we've not really discussed your own business angles. And I know you requested that. You wanted to talk more about the principles of business, which is a wonderful thing, and we thank you for that. But one day I'd like you to come back and tell us a little bit more about what you've been up to in your businesses, because there's some cool stuff in there. Come on, Julie, we want to know about it. So thank you so much for joining in today.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for allowing me. I'm very grateful. And by the way, you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much.
You're helping people, which is fundamental, and I love it.
We appreciate it. We'll keep going.